Zebbie, you did a nice job with your photograph. Taking inspiration from Duchamp's fountain and just from what we were saying in emails, Stieglitz's photograph of that. Certainly interesting idea to try to recreate. And Edward Weston's Scusazo toilet picture, even more so. You mentioned in your essay how you thought it was interesting that two very influential artists, and three if you include Stieglitz in that, would have decided to focus on something as mundane as a toilet, or in Duchamp's case, in Stieglitz, the urinal. Definitely, weird that they would do that, and that they would find it artistic. Certainly Duchamp was more of a ironic sort of thing, he didn't actually think that it was art. But then, here we go a number of years later, and then we have a very influential photographer in Edward Weston, and he finds, a similar sort of interest in the porcelain. And so it's weird, absolutely, but there's good history behind it, and I think that is an interesting choice for you to go ahead and use that for your inspiration. This one here is, of course, Weston's. He spent some time in Mexico, and he first of all, he did a lot of nudes, as we discussed in class, but he liked shapes that he felt had kind of a human sort of shape to it. He liked objects that had a human sort of shape to it, and that's what he found in here. He found kind of those same sort of curves and same sort of lines. He, as Ansel Adams and the other F-64 photographers was really inspired by detail, and he found in this particular subject a way to express that. He has tons of detail here. Thankfully, he chose to photograph it when he was clean. It could have had detail in a disgusting sort of way too. However, that probably wouldn't have fit his aesthetic quite as well. You took that and went with the urinal aspect. Certainly, your picture of it is perfectly adequate. And whereas Weston would have been very, very careful with his lighting, he has this nice sort of soft light coming in. We don't see any hard shadows over here. That doesn't necessarily fit with what Duchamp or Stieglitz had, and they kind of took the lighting as it came. Certainly that's what you did here. It would have been, frankly, quite weird for you to go into a men's room and brought in some nice studio lighting, nice softbox to get this. However, we still see some pretty decent lines here in the way that the lighting kind of comes off of the objects around it. Not super hard, but a little hard, and so in that way it matches as well. Definitely an interesting subject matter. Definitely, could be so much worse than it is, and I think that your essay, you're writing about it, it makes sense why you would have chose this. Other than lighting, probably wouldn't change anything about the post-processing. I think that's very fitting with Weston's photograph and with Stieglitz's photograph as well. Let me know if you have any questions.